I was 12 years old, and my father bought me a Pentax K1000 camera, which was like the low budget manual everything camera back in the day. Cost like $75 probably or something, because I told him I wanted to be a photographer. So started shooting pictures. He wasn't a big TV. We weren't really big TV watchers. He wasn't really into TV because he just wasn't. So I'd always look through these magazines and newspapers, and I always thought, how cool is that? You can actually get to be at the Super Bowl or hear and experience these things, even though you're not a football player or you're not an explorer or you're not a bank robber. You still get to experience all these things. So I thought it'd be pretty cool. You know, sometimes you want a little bit of guidance because you don't really know which direction to go in. But then again, I never had that doubt of what I wanted to do. So that's, well, I've been doing it for so long, it's hard to say. But since I started freelancing for a newspaper when I was 16, my local newspaper, and then, you know, I think because of the things you see, even when I went to my first fatal car accident when I was probably just turned 18 years old, and experienced all that grief, family members crying and this and that. I think it kind of formed the way I looked at the world more than changed it, because I've never had another perspective to look at it other than from being a photographer. And I'm constantly looking. I mean, the people that are around me, they'll notice I'm always like, hey, did you see that over there? Hey, did you see that? Whereas most people don't do that. They're not constantly looking around. I'm always looking for something. I don't know what it is, but I'm always looking for something. Well, there's been lots of stuff that, you know, emotionally have affected me. Professionally, I think probably the one thing that really affected me emotionally is I did a story on a Los Angeles police officer who was shot and paralyzed. She was chasing this guy, and she caught him and grabbed him, and he spun around and fired his gun and paralyzed her. I got a hold of her husband, and I followed her from when she was released from the hospital for a year and a half until she had a baby boy, and really got close to him. Like, you know, just because I was there so many things with them, and I was in the delivery room when she had the baby. In fact, the reporter that worked on that story became a cop. Like, you just become part of these people, and most people look at police officers as being different, and all of a sudden you see how they're just human beings, and you see this woman who's just a tremendous inspirational person. I mean, just the kind of person you just look up to, and just to be around her and see how she's like, this is not going to beat me. I'm going to work my way through this. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Then she rode her bike across the country, a hand bike. I mean, I remember watching her. She went to rehab, and you could see the pain in her face, and they're working her over. And so I'm shooting pictures, and then they were done, and I asked her husband, Tim, I said, well, you guys going to go home? She's going to rest now? And Tim goes, no, we got to go to the gym. She's got a personal trainer appointment. So then we go to this gym, and I watch her drag herself across this big, huge aerobic room floor and go through all this hard weightlifting and everything. And I look at her and I go, you know, I really never have an excuse not to work out or not to do something. If she just hasn't even been out of the hospital for a month and she's doing this, and just, yeah, so that I think about her a lot. Well, I have this one project that I kind of work on whenever I get a chance, and it's more of a kind of an outlet for me, is I just pick up some of my cameras. I just go out and I walk around. I just take pictures of people in LA, and mostly, you know, they're kind of hobo-esque. I just do it because I like doing it, and maybe someday there'll be something with it, but that's not my intention. I don't really have there's no intention for that project. It's just I like doing the work, so and I know that it makes me a better photographer, and I grow as a photographer. So when I go out there and I shoot these pictures, it's almost like I'm practicing, even though it feels good because there's no expectation of me. I can go out and be free with my camera. I'm not getting paid. I don't have an editor or a client to satisfy, so there's zero expectation on me. So it frees me up. If I don't feel like taking a picture, I don't take the picture. If I want to take a picture, I take the picture. I'm kind of a believer that there's stories everywhere, and just because the story is right next door doesn't make it more or less important than a story that's halfway across the world. You can change people's minds, or you can motivate people into action, or you can stimulate thought, and you can do all these wonderful things, but you can do that about some guy that's lost his legs to diabetes, and he's living in a little dump next to a church that works on the nuns' vans for free. And I mean, you can affect people. It doesn't have to be halfway around the world. So, I mean, I always thought it would be cool to cruise around and just take pictures, and just to show like the different way people live and are, and not even so much as like a this hardcore documentary project or anything, but just as a historical thing, because you look back at, like, I look back at pictures from 50 years ago and I go, God, look how much it's changed. So, it's one of those things where, and you don't realize it when you're doing this, but I actually got hired at the Daily News when I was 24. And so I started making a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden it's like I had a place, and you get kind of roped in and tied down, and and you can't just drop everything and go. Never done UNICEF or any of those other things. See, my whole goal in photography, whether it be sports photography or feature photography or whatever I'm doing, is to stimulate an emotion in someone. So when you look at my picture, I want you to feel something. I don't want you to just look at the picture and go, oh, okay. I want you to look at the picture and go, wow, that makes me feel sad. That makes me angry. That makes me happy. That is amazing. That makes me excited. If it doesn't stimulate emotion, that means you're not putting anything into it. You're not putting enough into it to actually make it a good picture, to make it something that stands out. I did a project on a guy who lived in his car with his 2 daughters, and I followed him around for a while, and someone bought him an RV. I remember I had this message one time. I shot a picture of this young boy who's 12, and his father was a police officer and got murdered. And there was TV. I was covering the funeral, and there was TV cameras and everything there. And they all left, but I waited, and I was the last guy there, and because everyone was leaving. And right when everyone was leaving, the little boy got up, and he had his folded American flag, and he walked over to his dad's coffin, and he just sat there and he stared at it. And this woman was like, left a phone message saying she was going to give like $5,000 to the fund. When all the newspapers were folding and people were losing their jobs, I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I can't. I mean, this is all I wanted to ever do. It's the only thing I really know how to do. I've been doing it so long. Wow, should I try and be a cop, or should I try and do something else? Should I try and bite the like a lot of guys, they left before one photographer went to nursing school. Other guys, they kind of wanted to jump on it before it happened, because they all kind of saw the writing on the wall. And there's no way I could do that. There's just no way. I mean, I couldn't imagine having to wake up and put on a tie and go sit in an office, or try and sell some guy a Honda. I couldn't imagine it. I mean, that'd be this like lifelong torture. Even if I could still do photography on the side or after work, no, I want to take pictures every day. I mean, there are days when I don't want to turn my computer on, but there's hardly ever a day that I really don't want to take a picture. I figure I'll end up being a greeter at Walmart someday or something when I go blind, but not gonna be doing anything before, in the meantime, but taking pictures.